An Arizona teacher accused of raping her 13-year-old student is now teaching again from behind bars. In 2018, 27-year-old Brittany Zamora, a young, charismatic teacher, found herself at the center of a scandal that would haunt her for the rest of her life. The once proud educator, who had been awarded Teacher of the Year just 2 years earlier, began a covert and illegal relationship with one of her 13-year-old students. This relationship, hidden behind the guise of professional interactions and school lessons, became an obsession that would eventually lead to her arrest. The investigation began innocently enough. The young boy's father, known only as John in reports, had been suspicious when his son began acting differently after spending time with Zamora. His suspicions grew when his wife found troubling messages on his son's phone, messages that were both sexually suggestive and inappropriate. A message from Zamora read, "Hey baby," to which the 13-year-old replied, "Hey love," before continuing the conversation with lines like, "Thinking about your sexy self," and "Ah baby, I wish you were with me." Zamora had initially set up an instructional messaging system called Classcraft with her other students. It's believed this is how she and the victim initially began personally messaging each other. The victim's phone also had a parental control app known as Sentry. The victim's mother noticed that many messages were being flagged with the word baby in them, so she went into the chat and found proof of an inappropriate relationship between Zamora and the 6th grader. But it went even further than that. Zamora had sex with the student on several occasions, inside her classroom and then eventually off campus. In addition to this, she had another student, aged 11, act as a lookout while she and the victim engaged in sexual activity in the classroom. Over the past few months that the relationship developed, the victim had asked his parents if he could stay later after school for tutoring and sports. However, all the while, Zamora was molesting him during these sessions. Once she even showed up at the victim's grandparents' house where he was staying to meet her outside and engage in sexual activity in her car. After the victim's parents discovered the truth, a chilling phone call ensued between John and Zamora. In the recorded phone call, John starts with an exasperated,
"What type of perverted person are you?"
He's clearly enraged, as any father would be, upon discovering that his child had been groomed by someone entrusted with their education. Zamora, trying to play coy and unremorseful, asks, "Why do you say that?" as if unaware of what he's referring to, or at least trying not to admit guilt. As the conversation unfolds, it becomes clear that Brittany Zamora's husband, Daniel, was also deeply involved in the situation, though not in a way that could provide any real comfort. In a bizarre and unsettling exchange, Daniel tries to defend his wife, stating that she had made the biggest mistake anyone could ever make. He goes on to tell John that Brittany was a great teacher, one who had done so much for so many students, and tried to downplay the enormity of her betrayal. In the midst of this absurd defense, Daniel is heard asking John for forgiveness, as though offering excuses could somehow undo the damage. Once the father handed over the evidence to law enforcement, the investigation snowballed. What initially seemed like an isolated incident quickly turned into a larger criminal investigation. Police discovered a web of texts, messages, and social media exchanges, painting a disturbing picture of an adult taking advantage of a vulnerable child. Not only did the messages show the sexual nature of the relationship, but they also revealed the sheer audacity and arrogance of Zamora, who believed she could hide the abuse behind digital walls. There was also evidence she'd tried to groom another student. The mother of one of the victim's friends reported that Zamora had promised to send her son nude photos during the summer. She'd also allegedly asked him if he was circumcised. When the boy said he didn't understand the question, she sent him images of male genitalia. Zamora was arrested in March 2018. The discovery of her messages, along with the confrontation by the father, left no room for doubt. She was charged with sexual conduct with a minor, attempted molestation of a minor, and public sexual indecency, a crime that would eventually lead her to plead guilty and receive a 20-year prison sentence. In 2020, just 2 years after her arrest, Zamora filed for divorce from her husband, citing that their relationship was broken beyond repair. While serving her 20-year sentence, Zamora found herself teaching once again, this time within the confines of prison walls. She worked as a tutor and educator, a position she requested herself, claiming to have no disciplinary issues during her time behind bars. While this news wasn't received well by the larger public, the Arizona Department of Corrections Perryville issued a statement that at no time would tutors be left alone with their pupils, and that there was no danger that Zamora could re-offend in the same way as she'd done previously. Additionally, as Perryville is an all-women's prison, Zamora would not be teaching anyone that fit the criteria of those she had previously victimized. But even within the confines of prison, the move is controversial, reminding us that no matter how much time is served, some crimes are beyond reprieve.